Today we'll be talking about this null object design pattern. So this design pattern is useful in the scenarios where you are checking if an instance of an object is null or not. So to understand more about this design pattern, let's take an example of file writing system. So for that, let's quickly create a new class called CSV file writer, and let's say it has a method called write to file, and it accepts string as a parameter, and then it returns boolean. So if the writing to file is successful, it will return true, or else it will return false. So for now, let's just echo our data and then return true, right? This is just our dummy CSV file, and let's create an interface for this. Let's say the name of the interface is file writer, right? And it has write to file as a method, and it should return boolean. So this looks good, and let's implement this interface. Let's also require up here file writer. Alright, this looks good. And also let's create a service that's actually write the file. So file writing service or whatever. Let's just say the name of the class is file writing service, and in the constructor it will accept file writer as a parameter, and it has a method called write, and it also accepts string as a parameter, and using the object in the constructor it will call a method called write to file. This looks good, right? Now in our index.php file, let's just create an object of service writer equals new file writing service, and then this this needs file writer as a parameter, so let's create an object of file writer. Yeah, this looks good, and then this writer will call the function called write hello world or whatever. We can pass any of the things. So let's require the files as well up here. File writing service. So let's run this hello world. So this looks good. Now let's change the service, right? Let's say we can also pass null as a file writer. So now if this file writer is not null, then only it should be able to write the file, right? So, and if it's not, and then after the file has been written, it should do the further processing. So now since our file writer is not null, it should we should see the output as hello world and then further processing. So let's run this as expected. So this looks fine, right? So now if I send null up here instead of file writer, it should only give me further processing, because as expected, because we do not have an object of the file writer. So this looks good. Now let's say I don't want to have this condition. I want to remove these conditions, and also this should work as expected. So for that we need the help of this null object design pattern. So I remove this if condition, but it should also work as expected. But now if I try to run this, it should give me error, because because file writer is null, and then we cannot have the function write to file for the null, right? So how do we solve this? To solve this, we'll create a new class called null CSV, sorry, null file writer, and then it will implement this interface called file writer. But since it's null class, it does nothing, right? It does nothing, and then let's return false, and also implement require file writer up here. Yeah, right. Now this looks good. So instead of sending this null up here, we'll send this null file writer as a parameter for this file writing service. So let's require up here null file writer, and this should work as expected. We shouldn't be able to see hello world, because yes, it's only further processing. We haven't checked the condition up here if the file writer is null or not, and we can also omit this one, and also it's giving us the expected result. So this is what our null object design pattern does.